Hey everyone, it's Alice, and I'm here with some KetchupAthon recommendations / reading plans. So it's 10 days until KetchupAthon, our very own readathon, begins, and I'm getting excited. So I thought today I'd just have a bit of an informal chat with you, sharing some of the books I'm thinking of possibly trying to fit on my TBR for KetchupAthon. This probably won't work because we do play Hook a Duck as a TBR game, so I'm going to have to try and combine these together, and I am low-key still potentially thinking of taking part in the Royal Readathon. So by the time Hook a Duck comes around, all of these will have likely changed, but these are just some of the books that I am thinking of trying to squeeze in there at the moment. It might give you some ideas of things that you need to catch up with if you haven't read any of these books. It might make you feel ashamed that I've read hardly any of the books that you love. So if you do have any recommendations out of these that you really want me to prioritise getting on my KetchupAthon TBR, please leave them down in the comments. And if you're planning on taking part in our readathon, then please feel free to let us know down below. And I will leave the link in the description for the Google forms so that you can fill it out and get your very own picnic blanket to collect your badges on. You'll see the badges popping up throughout. We've been very extra. There are badges for this readathon and it's great. So without further ado, let me share some of my KetchupAthon reading plans. So for the Ketchup badge, which is the middle grade badge, I'm thinking of trying to read Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. This is the third book in the... Is it called the Nevermore series or is it called the Morrigan Crow series? I can never remember. But it is the third book following Morrigan Crow. She has... In the first book, she is a cursed child. She's told she's going to die on her 12th birthday. But she ends up getting rescued by a person and whisked off into his magical adventure. This is book 3 of that magical adventure, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, and I really want to, so this would be a good one to prioritise. I'm also low-key thinking of trying to carry on with the Harry Potter series, but I'll be mentioning that a bit later for one of the other badges. But that's also a middle grade, so if we were short on time, I could double up. Cheating at my own readathon, but it's fine. If you want to double up, we don't mind. I'm also considering continuing on with the Starfell series by Dominique Valente because we loved the first book of this one. It's illustrated. The only problem is I've got the second and third book on the library app, so I think the illustrations might go a bit wacky. We had that problem with the Matt Haig Christmas series when we read those in December. Some of the illustrations split into like 4 or 5 pieces. It meant it was a lot quicker to read, but we didn't get the same enjoyment out of it that we would have if we'd read it physically, so I'm not sure whether to wait until I've got the Starfell books physically to carry on with that. And another middle grade that I'm thinking of doing to catch up and get this badge is kind of cheating because we're not really catching up on it. But Once Upon a Crime by Robin Stevens comes out in the middle of August, and yes, it's a new release, so we won't be catching up, but it's one of my most anticipated releases this year, so I need to read it by the end of the year anyway. And it is finishing off a series because it's the very last book in the Murder Most Unladylike series, so it's technically catching up on that series. So I might count that, but it might also be cheating. But as I said, that's fine. For Barbecue, which is Outside Vibes, I think we're going to end up finishing The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan because we are halfway through the 4th book in the Wheel of Time series, and we have been halfway through the 4th book since like April. We just couldn't get through it. Like the first 3 flew through, loved them. We tried to read 3 chapters a day and we ended up reading about 8 chapters a day, and it took over our lives. There's something about the pacing in the 4th one that I am not enjoying, and I'm really struggling with it. I've heard that it gets better after the 4th one and that a lot of people struggle up to and including the 4th one, and then they breeze through the rest. So if we can push our way through that, that would be a great thing to catch up with this month. I'm also low-key considering putting P.S. I Like You by Casey West on here because it has people kissing with trees in the background on the cover, and this was one of the very first Owl Crate books that I got, and I've never read it. I've never read a single Casey West book. This is the only one of hers that I physically own. I've got a feeling I've got one on my Kindle, and I've heard some mixed things about her books. Some people love them, some people think they're really cliched, but it has trees on the cover, so that's Outside Vibes. Anything else I can think of? I still need to finish State of Sorrow by Melinda Salisbury. That's been on my currently reading list since 2018 when it came out. That has like water dropping into a pool on the front cover. That's very naturey. And I do love Melinda Salisbury's writing, so that one might end up on the TBR, because ideally what we'd like to do is get our TBR currently reading list on Goodreads down to none, or like just the books we're currently reading, because at the moment I've got lots of books on there that I've abandoned, and that's basically what the aim of this readathon is, to get rid of some of those books that we've abandoned, and clear up the currently reading list a bit more, so that might end up on there as well. For the Mayo badge, 5-star prediction. This I'm finding tricky. So I could do Red Tigress by Amelia Wenzel, because that is one of my most anticipated releases of this year, and I haven't read it yet. It's only been out for a few months, but I need to read it, and I think it's going to be a 5-star prediction. Same with Mr. Impossible by Vanky Stiefvater. Only came out a couple months ago, so it's not as far back as I think Sean was intending when he came up with the idea of KetchupAthon. But I do think it's going to be a 5-star, and I do need to catch up on it because I need to read it before the end of the year, because again, it was on my most anticipated releases. So those two could work for this badge. Is there anything else that I think I'm going to give 5 stars to that I haven't read yet and I've had on my TBR for forever? I would say The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, but that is long, and we have hardly any reading time because my shifts are a lot longer than I thought they would be, and I'm getting a lot more drained after work. I don't know if that's because we're in the middle of a heat wave, so I do apologise if I look ridiculously sweaty and unkempt today, but the UK is in the middle of a heat wave, and it's like over 30 degrees for most of the day. In the evenings, it's like 26 degrees. That's normally like the hottest our days get. So if that carries on in August, we're not going to be reading anything because my concentration is shot. Like at lunch today, I read for like 10 minutes and then I just scrolled on Twitter for another 50. That's not normal for me. So if it's cold, The Final Empire. If it's not cold, basically nothing. And I'll also say An Ember in the Ashes by Sabata here, because we've had that on a couple of TBRs this year. Have we read it yet? No. Is it a 5-star prediction? Yes. So we'll settle with those for now. Hopefully get at least one of them read. I'm also planning on reading more books by myself this month, and that would work quite nicely because Red Tigress I have through NetGalley, Mr. Impossible I have on my Kindle, so I would be able to read those quickly on the walk to work and at work, on my lunch break. So there's a nice mixture there between ones I want to read with Sean and ones I want to read by myself. For Worcestershire sauce, we have a classic. So the first one at the top of my head is A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. So this is the first book in the John Carter Man of Mars series. We started this in November or December. It's in like 100 pages. Got halfway through. We're like, meh. Just stopped. Sean's dad has read them. I think he's read all of them and he really recommends them. He said that it kind of gets a bit repetitive and they're a little slow to start with. I think Sean said that was what he'd said. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, Ken. But, yeah, basically, they're classic. There's a guy, he wakes up and he's on Mars. It's wild because he has no idea how he's gotten there. And I was really enjoying the first half of it, and for some reason we put it down and just never picked it up again. So that's the priority, is getting that finished, because that is classic sci-fi. And obviously it's short, so we should be able to get through that quickly. Ideally, Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. But it's too long, so we're never going to actually read that. I mean, I'd love to. I've been putting that on TBRs for at least 5 years, and I've never picked it up. Sophia keeps playing with them and telling us to read them next, so we'll have to read them eventually, but that's definitely a classic fantasy at this point, even though it's only 90s. It's like a modern classic, so we could get away with that for the Worcestershire sauce badge. I'd like to read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, because Connor Stompanato really recommends the Bronte's novels, and he's read all of them, and I think when he did his tier ranking of all of the Bronte books, Wuthering Heights came second. It was either second or third. So if he really, really rates it highly, and I rate him highly, it should work for me. Also, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte would be good for a classic one. I've only read, so far, Jane Eyre by all of the Brontes, and I didn't like it. controversial opinion. And I keep reading Jane Eyre retellings as well, and I don't like those either. So I think there's just something about that whole story that just doesn't gel with me. But I really do want to give the other Bronte sisters a chance, because I think I might be able to find a new favourite in there somewhere. Yeah, I can't think of anything else for a classic, but hopefully you'll see at least one of those popping up, because I should have read all of those many years ago. The next badge is horseradish, and that is something that is bittersweet. So, Once Upon a Crime could work for this, because that's obviously bound to make me cry, because it's the very last Murder Most Dead Ladylike book, and I don't want to read it. What else is going to make me sad? That I haven't read, and that I've needed to read for ages. Oh, this is the hardest one. I should have prepared something for this. It's going to make me cry. Bittersweet. That I need to catch up on. Is there anything? Late Fragments by Kate Gross. Kate Gross was a journalist. She got cancer, I believe, and she wrote a series of letters to her children. And I believe they were published posthumously. So she passed away, and then these letters were released. So that would definitely make me cry. We've had that on our Read Then Go pile for a very long time, because I don't know if it's one that I would be able to bring myself to reread once I'd read it. But that would certainly be bittersweet, and that's a very short book as well, so that would be a very quick one to read. It's hard to think of sad books. I can't think of any recommendations that people say make them sad, apart from like the Life Ship Traders series, but I haven't read the first series in the Elderling yet, so I can't start those off. This Love sounds like it might make me cry. This is about a girl who she lost her family, grief, tragedy, and then her house burns down, and I don't know if she's agoraphobic, but then her house burns down, so she has no choice but to like get back out into the world. My friend Kim chose this for one of our Hooker Duck TBRs. It was a friend pick, and I didn't read it. I'm sorry, Kim, but she only picked it because she liked the font. So I don't know whether she would have picked it if she knew what the story was like, but this definitely sounds like something that would be bittersweet. So this is something that I need to catch up on, because it was on a TBR and I skipped it. So this is probably going to end up being the one, actually. I'm glad I spotted that out there. Yeah, we'll go with this. If I can get it on to my Hooker Duck TBR again. So the last prompt is Pass the Salt, and this will get me my little salt shaker badge. And this is basically any kind of controversial book, or any book that you don't think you'll like. So this is where Harry Potter returns for more of our conversation. I don't agree with J.K. Rowling's views, and I've been tempted to unhaul the Harry Potter books, and I've been tempted to just DNF the entire series, but I feel as though, because it's one of those classic series that everybody loves and everybody goes on about, I should probably finish them, because I've only ever read the first 3. So there's a potential I might carry on with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, because I kind of feel obligated to read it, even though I don't think I'm going to like it, and that would definitely get me this badge. There's also the fact that it's like the Harry Potter fandom is one of the most featured fandoms in all of the book boxes that I subscribe to. So I did a thing recently, I'll link it up in the cards. I figured out the most featured fandoms in my 3 subscription boxes, Fairy Loot, Owlcrate and Illumicrate. And Harry Potter featured very frequently in all of them. So it's a case that I feel like I kind of should catch up on it for that reason as well, because I've been subscribed to those boxes for so long. I don't know, I just feel obligated to read them, even if I don't think I'm going to like them. There's also The Maze Runner by James Dashner. I don't agree with him as a person. I think he seems like a massive scumbag, but I have had those books for so long, and it's not like I'm buying them and giving him money, like I already own them. So I might read the first one at least and see what it's like. My best friend Lauren, she really, really liked the first 2 or 3, I think. I don't know if she's read all of them. She definitely liked the film. Maybe it was the film she liked, but she kept telling me to read it and I didn't, and feel a bit bad about that because that was years and years ago. That was back when we were like still in sixth form. So possibly Maze Runner. Possibly Nightblood by Ellie Blake. Read the first two, hated them. And yeah, I still bought the third one. Need to finish that series off at some point. Why not do it now? Or possibly The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien, because I hated the first two books in the Lord of the Rings series. I've put this and Nightblood on my These Books Will Self-Destruct in 12 Months list, and there's a good chance that they will self-destruct because I have no inclination to read them. Sean really wants to finish off Lord of the Rings with me. I couldn't care less. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh. I loved The Hobbit. The Hobbit as a story is amazing and I loved it so much. I read that in one sitting, but I'm just so bored of Frodo and all of the little hobbits and Legolas just like wandering, and yeah, it just drains me. I did not enjoy the second one at all, and I'm raging against reading the third one. I might not, but it's definitely something I need to catch up on. And that also makes me think of... Oh, there was something else that just popped into my head, but it's gone. Mark Lawrence, The Girl in the Stars. He's... Oh yeah, I guess that wouldn't really be a Past the Salt, would it? Like... Oh yeah, because Past the Salt is also for books that you're not looking forward to reading. Yeah, I was thinking like, I don't think J.R.R. Tolkien was really that controversial, but that's because this badge has two meanings. But Mark Lawrence has had some controversial things going on. Doesn't seem to be the nicest person. But I have one of his books from a Luba crate that I would like to eventually catch up with so that I can potentially get rid of it if I don't enjoy it. Same with Red Sister, but that's like humongous, so that will not be going on this TBR. But those are just some of the books that you might end up seeing me read next month if you come back when we do KetchupAthon. So if you like the sound of this TBR, please subscribe, like this video, leave a comment down below telling me if you're planning on taking part in KetchupAthon and if any of these books will be on your TBR. And yeah, hopefully you'll be joining in with us and we'll have lots of fun all together. There might be some live shows. We're going to see if we can figure out doing some reading sprints, but we've never done that before, so don't hold me to it. I might be too tired after work or scared. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another video, hopefully on a slightly less hot day because I am melting right now. Thank you for watching. Bye! Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Burroughs? Burroughs. I just can't say that name apparently. Edgar Rice Burroughs.